both of us, I think what we talked about, having that innovative, always looking out for not necessarily big change, but, tweaking things and looking at better ways of doing business. Like, for example, engaging customers earlier on in the process, I think is a really big point, not
Yep.
only here in the States, but also with you guys.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I think that that's a big movement that's
Okay.
happening
Okay.
in F&I, especially where F&I was so used to waiting till the customer gets into the F&I office, right? And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about all that good stuff when you get in there. And
Yep.
I think with the changing of the guard and having more information earlier on in the process is going to mean that F&I's got to get out front sooner.
Yeah. I've seen your post this week on LinkedIn, and I know you're putting some effort into like getting dealerships to to bring awareness to dealerships so people can take advantage of F&I and the process earlier on. So can you expand on that just a little bit, just so I understand, because it's not something I've been uh, like familiar with on the F&I standpoint. So like basically, what's the challenge for dealerships today to like in bringing F&I like earlier in the process of the buying process for customers?
Well, it's a tradition. We've always been successful doing what we've always been doing, and the success has meant whatever we do, we don't talk about these specific terms until the customer makes their way into the F&I office,
Yep.
and that means we'll find out whether or not that customer can obtain financing or not. We'll talk to the customer about their specific questions with regard to their terms, maybe what they can finance for, what their budget is. And this is all done when the customer gets into the F&I office. I'm saying, let's get to some of that sooner in the process. Let's find out some of those variables much earlier on in the process. I don't want to have a
Okay.
customer land on a car, put the customer on a vehicle, only to find out they can't get approved, only to find out that it's too much car,
Yeah.
only to find out that they can't fit into the budget. What are
Yep.
we doing? Why are we doing that? And
Yep.
now we have these third-party providers, as you well know, that
Hmm.
offer customers the ability to do the shopping online.
Yep. Yep.
Amazon's not messing around.
Yep. I
People
know.
have to wake up and realize that this is available to the customers in the very beginning as
Okay.
they're shopping. I'm
Yeah.
not saying we give up the farm. I am just saying that we just work smarter, that
Yeah.
let's reduce some of the heavy lifting, give some of the customers some variables, give them an understanding of what they might likely qualify for. I didn't say exact. And in some cases, you know what? It could be exact, depends on what the dealer wants to do. It's up to them to customize that. I call it a online journey.
Yeah, it is. It is an online journey, and the information available to our customers is more extensive than ever. And I think you're right to think like positioning F&I products and financing earlier in the process could save a lot of time on the dealer side, but also um, you're not like bursting the bubble of your customer, right? So let's say you get them excited on a really nice SUV, and then in the end you have to tell them what you can afford it. So
Well, what
yeah.
else happens is, I think we were introduced by Jonathan,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And what happens in Canada,
Hmm.
because they believe that they don't have as many subprime customers as we do in the States.
Yeah.
And they don't run business. And I'm not saying they want to be as aggressive as what some dealers here are in the States either. I'm not even saying that. But I
Hmm.
am saying that they do have a higher percentages of subprime customers today than ever before. I know we do.
Yep.
We're at 57%, and that includes thin files, that sort of stuff. But in
Yeah.
your world, in Canada, it's about 35, 40, 35, I
It's
think
really high.
37%.
Yeah, it's really
Subprime.
high. Yeah, I know it's all different from provinces as well, but it's
Yes,
on the rise as well. And it's super nice that we got introduced by Jonathan at the Old Drive.
that's right.
So yeah, I see his business thriving and coming on, and I think it's going to be a real help for dealers in the near future. So
in
Yeah.
the near future.
Yeah.
Now, exactly. So as I told Jonathan, in Canada, it is a culture change. And that's
Mhm.
why Jonathan and I started talking. And I said, you're going to need training.
Yep.
You need that training to go along with what that platform does. The platform's awesome. It's amazing.
Yep.
But until you get them thinking, by the way, we need to get to this sooner in the process before we have F&I, before we have a deal making their way into F&I.
Yep.
And now F&I, at that point, then they're filling out a credit application. Then they submit it to the bank. They don't even pull the credit.
I know. I
They
know.
let the bank decide for them as to whether or not the deal is going to get approved or not. And by that time, they've already done a menu presentation. Customer has already left. Customer might have purchased one or two other products, three, maybe, who knows. And
Yep.
then they have to call the customer back. Oh, by the way, we can't do this.
Yeah, it's a huge factor, as much as like, let's say, like a trade-in vehicle, like the finance is kind of the basis of if you're gonna sell this vehicle or not, because a really low percentage of cars today, at least new cars, are bought, cash. And I think it's really important to get this right in dealers. And you're right when you're
Right.
saying it's a culture change, because like not too many years ago, like OEMs or like branded stores would have absolute wouldn't have much issues, selling to people with or without financing. But it's changing fast, and it's like we're putting that on the side. As far as I'm concerned, in online marketing, um, branded dealership won't concentrate as much as generating leads for finance. But in the end, when you look at all the leads they're pulling, like a big percentage of that should be addressed as a finance, with a finance message earlier in the process. And that I'm sure of that. So is
Yeah, I just feel that we have to get to the customer sooner. We have to build that bridge. We have to connect the dots sooner.
Yep.
And again, it's part of the journey. Customers buy at different times, right?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
used to be that you could pretty much think that the customer would buy between 9 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night. Well, that stopped. Customers are buying at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. in the morning when the dealership is shut down.
Yep.
So does that mean, and I'm not saying let's get radical. I'm just saying let's get smart.
Yep.
Let's take it from the beginning. Let's offer both options, traditional, non-traditional. Let's open up our minds to think that somebody's could be shopping at 2 a.m. in the morning. And if that's how they want to shop, if they want to do some of that heavy lifting earlier on, and you're not
Yep.
offering it and somebody else is, I guess they're not buying a car from you. Or if in the event you can't open your mind to understand that some customers have derogatory credit, doesn't make them a bad customer at all, doesn't make
True.
them bad people. Good things, bad things happen to good people. Stuff happens in
Yeah.
life.
Well, we've seen it in the U.S. around 2008 and 2009, right? It
Oh,
was a huge recession.
horrible.
It was horrible. I was in the U.S. at that time, and I got to see my neighborhood change in a matter of 1 year. It was crazy, and
Yeah.
I think it hit so hard. So many people, many people are still reeling from that, and it's not funny. It's not something to laugh at, and you got to be prepared to help those people out, because it's like reestablishing your credit and finance situation takes more than a year for a lot of people, right? So
Well, I'm just saying that at least have other options available. Don't
yeah.
think about that your I mean, I've been in some of the training for. I'm not going to name exactly where because I'm not
Hmm.
there to put point fingers at
Yep.
anyone. I
That's fine.
love working in Canada. I love the people in Canada, uh, but the idea that we don't have subprime customers, Becky, so therefore, we're not going to offer the training with
Wow.
regard to subprime. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why are you so foolish? I mean, don't get me wrong, but why? When
Yeah.
that's just not the case.
But some businesses don't want to address that portion, and it's fine. It's something else, right? Sometimes just a matter of priority, and some dealers really want to focus on used cars, and sometimes leave like the finance thing on the side because it's such a business of its own, right? and it's not easy, and it's why you've been in the business for so long, helping dealerships, get
That's
better
right.
at that. And what's the major mistake you see from dealerships when you see this? These guys should be addressing the finance question earlier in the process. Would you like?
I
Um,
think with the disconnected that I see, first of all, is how soon do we answer customer questions as it pertains to when they're shopping, like
okay.
for a vehicle online. We have customers that are asking questions as to whether or not financing is available on these vehicles, if there's a special rate that's available on a Honda, Lexus, Toyota, whatever have you. And it's just crazy because the the lack of responses to that customer's questions, because we've always trained, whatever you do, let's not talk about these terms, get the customer into the dealership, whatever that you do. And I get that, but let's get them in the dealership no matter what.
Yep.
And or we try to transfer these calls to an F&I office, and frankly there's this big black hole and they never get there. And so that's kind of one of the things that I just absolutely cringe, and I see it all the time.
Okay.
These chat
Yeah.
centers are not equipped to answer these customers' questions, and they direct the customer to an F&I office and nobody responds. Happens
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no, it's fine. I was just about to say, you know what? There's a turnover process in the dealership, like the TO, and there's one online as well. If someone's shopping online and between the teams, whether it's on the phone or email or chat, it's a huge challenge for dealers today. Yeah.
You got to be responsive. You don't have
Yep.
time to sit there for 24, 48 hours, whether or not somebody's going to respond to you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
turning calls over to the F&I office that never get responded to, that go into this black hole. It's, we got to respond to that customer within at least 30 minutes to an hour. I mean, we have got
Yeah.
to have a much faster response rate. And that's why, again, some of the, I tell dealers or share with dealers, texting is really important.
Yep.
Some of the dealerships utilize called a zip whip,
Okay.
and which is a very unique tool option. And it actually a text can go right into a dealership landline, and it can be
Really?
routed to
Okay.
a manager, can be routed to a salesperson, can be routed to an F&I person, and it can be properly managed. So we know all the calls that are coming in, all the texts that are coming in, and we properly manage that.
Yep.
Because otherwise, if you can't
That's
manage
great.
it, you can't control it. And texting is the way of the future. That's how customers want you to respond to them. Everything's through their iPhone, Android, whatever, right?
Yeah. And
That's
I've been like being on the marketing side. I've seen people inside the auto business and outside as well. Really go back to texting as far as the open rate is high and everything, but you got to make sure you don't spam people over text, because you're gonna be in trouble. But aside of that, um, people change emails, or like have 5 different emails like I do. I got 6 emails, I think. My girlfriend always makes fun of me for that. So and the same thing with any other
right.
ways to communicate with us, but you don't change cell phone number very often, right? So I think it's the right call to converse or to communicate with customers through text, as long as you're not overboard, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
and as far as
Well,
if
can I say something as far as, I apologize,
yeah,
the zip whip or any of these other features that are
yep,
available to a dealer, all these texts are opt-in.
okay,
And one of the, as you mentioned, spam, you have to be very conscientious about
yep,
that. Absolutely. And
yep,
this is again why when I'm routed to the dealer where they are managed properly, they can't be sent to, directly to that salesperson and have personal information on their iPhones.
yeah,
What we're
yeah,
doing is we're routing it and we're keeping it on a private server that's
okay.
properly being managed.
Yeah, it makes sense, because that's a real challenge for at least managers to see how much tech's going to be like involved in their sales process.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if everyone communicates through their phone, it's fine, it's effective, but at the same time, management doesn't have any control over that. And sometimes could be left hanging
I
or in
think it's so
trouble, right? So
foolish. I think it's so foolish because we're losing so much opportunity here just in that alone in responding and how quickly we respond to the customer questions when it comes to F&I. And that means maybe
yeah,
BDC, we got to change up BDC and train them up on how to properly answer customer specific questions when it
yeah,
comes to financing terms, leasing, whatever.
yeah. So would you advise dealerships and BDCs, in North America to, address the financing question up front in their own, follow-up schedule? Like, let's say one email or one phone call, like the goal behind that phone call or email or text would be to, discover more information about on the financing side. Would you, think that would be a great idea for dealers or not?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like there's not everything to gain and nothing to lose. Again, it's all in, the conversation that we're having and and the questions that we're answering, specific questions that we're answering for our customers. Again, we don't dictate exact terms necessarily so, although we do talk about subvented rates. The rates are the rates. The
Yep.
subvented rate is the special rate by the manufacturer. I can talk about that all day long.
Yep.
This is their average rate factor. This is what we do. Hey, by the way, we have better terms and options that are available to our customers. We have so many different banks and credit unions that we work with here
Yep.
in the States. And also, I know you have a few credit unions yourself in Canada.
Yep.
But there's, again, coming into the dealership, we want to make sure that, we have many different options. But here it is. But it's how you address that question that's so
It's
important
true. Yep.
and bringing that and building that engagement with the customer, right? And getting the customer to, building credibility.
Yep.
People buy from people that they what?
No, it's true. And
Like and trust.
I've been doing some mystery shopping, like always. And one of the dealers I mystery shopped actually sent me like kind of a one pager, and I think it was a brilliant idea, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if it sticks, but still, it was like 4 or 5 ways to save money on your next deal. And they went, really upfront with the information, trying to educate their customer towards what they do and how they do it and why they do it and the impact of on their credit score and all that stuff. And I got no clue to, and I got no way to measure how people like read that stuff. But it's actually a great way to educate and influence people over to do business with them, right? Because you're not only like talking about the car itself or the pricing or whatever. You're trying to actually actively help your customers. And I don't know, it just felt right for me. So I got no way to measure like if it works for them, but it's I thought it was smart. So
Well, I think we always have to think outside the box.
yeah.
We have to be innovative. Doing what we've always been doing doesn't necessarily, pave the way.
Yep.
And for some, it doesn't at all. And this is where, profit starts to erode because, we're not keeping up with what's going on in the industry. We're not reading articles. We're not opening up our minds to different ideas that are relevant today. Customers like that, they want to know more about you.
Yep.
That, hey, I'm a person too. I mean, that's what that social media is all about. Let's face it.
Yep.
People contact because they like you.
Yep.
And I've even mentioned in my F&I Today episodes that, maybe it's okay to open up a Facebook account for F&I and talk a little bit about,
Yep.
hey, we're having an F&I clinic. We're having a finance and insurance clinic here at our dealership. We're going to be answering
Yeah.
some of the questions, have some fun with some of this. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, these guys are going, are you kidding me? A dealership's having a finance and insurance clinic on Facebook? Who does that?
Yeah, I know, but
Just, a
with
little bit outside the box there.
yeah, but at the same time, it's not crazy at all because you like it's all a matter of like scaling your business, right? So if you want those efforts to have an impact, you have to make sure there's enough people in the market, right? But as we discussed a few minutes ago, like the subprime and credit and finance portion of the business is growing. So I think it would make sense to start like thinking about like these and the information age and using social media to help people, because if a dealership's not doing it, someone else is going to do it, and it's going to be like a credit business alone, like a standalone business, and they got to take the whole pie, So yeah,
I tell you what, if I would do it in a heartbeat second, and
yeah,
be more than happy to talk about, hey, this happens to customers, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And you know what?
yeah,
All of a sudden, you have a customer watching that sort of stuff and thinking, wow, maybe they would be open to me. Maybe it's all good to go ahead and contact this dealership. Can I share a story with you? It
yeah.
won't be long.
Please do. I know. Please do.
It's not a long story, but it's a
No.
good story. And I'll never forget the time that I was working with this dealer, and he just bought a Buick dealership.
Okay.
And he said, Becky, we're not going to be running big numbers here. It's predominantly a cash store, and our customers are prime, and they're 800 and some across the board. We don't have, that's bulk of our business.
Yep.
So I left the store and I went over to the shopping mall and, kind of looking around, kind of seeing where I'm at. And in my world, there is no such thing as a dealership being that it only serves customers at 800 FICO scores and above, 750, right? Where's
Yep.
the other customers? You can't help but get yourself 3 and 4 tiers. You can't help it. You cannot be you can't be in this, what is this, cloaked to the degree that tier 3 and 4 customers aren't coming in.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? So I said, Bill, how is that even possible? It doesn't make any sense to me. Where are those customers? Well, what had happened over the years, the dealer created their own culture.
Okay.
And the salespeople knew that, hey, if my customer has any derogatory credit, you know what? We're wasting our time.
Yeah.
We have no banks. We have no finance person that can even work with anything like that. So really what they were doing, grooming every single customer, whoever mentioned, oh, by the way, I have some slow pay history, because they didn't want to deal with it. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of that's happening across the country and probably in Canada as well. We have salespeople that are going, they can't work with that customer. I'm not spending 3 and 4 hours with a customer and then they can't get the customer approved.
Yep.
I'm not going through that anymore. So Bill, what he decided to do, the dealer, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Becky. I'm going to pay for every write-up. I'm not even kidding you. This guy was amazing. $40 for every write-up, Beck. We'll see what we've got. What did he find? They were bringing those customers. And immediately, we changed the entire dynamic of that store. Unfortunately, we had to replace the finance person. We got new banks in there. And we had an understanding that, you know what? If a customer has derogatory credit, we're going to do everything we can to go ahead and get that customer approved. It's mindset. It's a culture.
Oh yeah, I'm all in with that. It's really what we see, and it's understandable because it's quite hard, right? And probably they knew what they had to change and how much work it was for, like changing the whole thing to make it work. So I'm glad you're gonna help.
I think people get set in their ways.
Mm.
People get set in their ways.
Yep.
I was at another dealership. Let me tell you something. When you're making all the money and you're killing it on volume, sometimes you make too much money despite yourself, right?
Yep.
And you just don't look at the other opportunity, and you miss it. You miss it big. I was at another dealership, and this is in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was a big store. They were selling all kinds of units. And I said, what happened to your tier 3 and 4 business? Where is it going?
They let it go.
They let it go because it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't concentrate on that. And I can tell you how many times dealers will go, you know what? I don't want that business, Becky.
Yeah.
I don't want subprime business. And I'm like, why? Well, that's just bad business. I don't want to deal with the funding nightmares. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. Well, imagine if you could do it right to begin with and you didn't have funding issues. What do you think about that? And what do you know? I mean, those customers that were able to go ahead and obtain financing are your most loyal customers. They come back time and time again.
Yeah, because sometimes they just can't get anything anywhere else, right? So,
they feel as if you've taken good care of them.
Yeah.
And you know what? They become loyal after 2 years of being able to keep the payment on time.
Yep.
They reestablish their credit. and
Yep.
they're back in buying another car from that same dealership.
Yeah, well, that's how most of like dealers or independent dealers do the bulk of their money, right? By increasing their retention rates, and these are pretty these are high profit deals, right? In the
Mhm.
finance sector. So if you know, and you can, and like the time to revenue is also shorter, because most people buying subprime, correct me if I'm wrong, won't be buying every 6 years. They might be buying every 1 or 2 or 3 years to accelerate their credit repair sequence. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, do
I
you
think
do
I
you
think that there's opportunities there, and I'll
Yep.
tell you what's really happening more that's happening a lot more. In fact, even with independents and car dealers are going, they're offering subscription services now.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
that means rideshare type
Yep.
of opportunity is happening in dealerships. So they're taking their inventory, and rather than wholesaling it out, going to auctions with it, they're keeping the inventory, and they're able to create their own subscription option. So it's
Yep.
month to month, however long you want to keep the car, and then of course then they move it and that sort of stuff. So
Yep.
there's see that happening because it's going to get big. The thing that I talked about, Fair.com, again, when Fair.com is a subscription
Yep.
service, and
Yep.
Scott Painter, the founder of TrueCar, is actually now the founder of Fair.com,
Yep.
all subscription service.
Yep.
So dealers really need to take a look at that, and especially with these leases coming back, right?
Yep.
Lots of opportunity with that
Yep.
right now.
I think you got to do it right as well. I think it's just the Penske Group just started their subscription like a program a few weeks ago,
Oh, did
and
okay.
you see it's new, because some companies, some startups are scaling up and down like in the subscription model, because let's be honest, it's really different from what they've been doing from like true retail with cars, just sending off the finance portion to the banks, and then we're all done. I'll see you in 3 years. It's something else. But on the retention side, I think it's brilliant, and whoever's going to come up first, you know being really good at that will cash in big time, I think.
Well,
And
there are
we'll see.
services that offer dealers the ability to do that for them. So
Yep.
that way they maintain it,
Yeah.
administrate it for a dealer. And it's quite clever,
Yeah, I
especially
know.
if you're dealing with subprime customers. One of the with Fair.com, it's not about the credit so much, the FICO score, whether or not you're going to get approved on a subscription.
Yep.
Rather, it's your driver's license and background check, and if you have insurance. The rest, they're not going to go ahead and not approve you because you have a low FICO score. So
Yep.
that's really cool. So now what we can do is we can put customers into a subscription type of option as we reestablish their credit. So 6 months, a year down the road, we can take that customer, instead of losing that opportunity, gain that opportunity,
Yep.
and then reestablish credit, and then they're able to obtain financing, and maybe for a 3 or 4 year um, loan or a term, something like along those lines. But
Yep.
that's where dealers have to really kind of break out of what they've been doing, thinking through innovative ideas. We still can sell by the month service contracts. Obviously, the customer needs to understand that that's not something that's included in the subscription.
Yep.
Dealers could if they wanted to. Just depends on what they want to do and how they want to do stuff.
Yeah, and then
It
how
really
much,
is
your customer can afford and everything. But I like how it's going, because we're really like seeing a change right now in the market. I think it's going fast right now, and I understand
fast.
like dealers being confused. They want to take the right path for the next 5, 10, 15 years, because these guys, dealers, operators, will they're thinking long term. We all know there's the month to month sales numbers going on, but at the same time, those people are seeing, like, they have vision, right? So I think it's nice. They need people like you to help them see what's coming in that in that portion. And I know you've been around for a while, and that was that's pretty much why I was so excited to have you on today. And
Well,
I
appreciate it.
I saw your post this week because you're big on LinkedIn, and I like the one from your news channels, the CBT News.
Yeah.
Um, I know you're part of that the team that produces content. Can you tell me a little bit more about what's that like the angle you're taking on that channel and everything?
That's all about F&I today.
Yep.
What's going on, current trends, what I'm hearing, buzzes, what's happening in the industry, who's doing what with what. And at the end of the day, how does this make an impact in dealers' overall profits? Really,
Yep.
that's what they're looking for. I try not to get too, out there, if you will, but I put things in a sense of reality.
Yep.
You do need to think through this. It's not something that, we talk about hybrid sales associates, and a hybrid sales associate is someone who can take the deal from the
Yeah.
sale to a full digitalized experience with the customer, and even a menu presentation, and finalize that. Well, it can be done, and it can be done very successfully. However, not with every dealership. So
Yeah.
these are things that I caution dealers: before you go ahead and sign on the dotted line, you better know what you're getting yourself into. And that's with all this technology too. I'll talk about that.
Do you
Technology is great, but if you don't implement it, you're kidding
Yep.
yourself,
Yep. I know.
right?
Yeah, I've
It's
seen it
it's
over and over. Like great tools. We do have great tools all over the board right now. Whether it's CRMs, whether it's finance at surface, everything. But it's all a matter of mindset and like how you use the tools and how far are you willing to go, right? So I think it's nice. But tell me more about that. Like those hybrid salespeople, if you will, like doing sales like in the typical sales in the showroom, and then being the F&I at the same time. Am I right?
Well, yeah, they're product specialists, but they can
Yeah.
take from the product specialists like Champ Automotive Group. Champ is
Yeah.
different because they're one pricing. It's a
Yep.
lot easier to work off of one pricing, their
Yep.
Highline. And you're seeing a lot more of this hybrid going on in a Highline dealership, because you have a different type of clientele, and you have a different type of employee, I guess, staff.
It's a single
A
point of
little bit
contact as
more
well, right? So
educated, trained up, and when you have continuous training and education going on, you can have something like that.
yep.
You can certainly, and it works. Even if you have somewhat of negotiation, value selling, that sort of stuff, you can have a product specialist going into a hybrid sales associate who finalizes does a menu presentation and can almost finalize the transaction. Not to say that we don't have a finance person working in the background, and not
Yeah.
to say that they're not trading up or getting transactions purchased by the bank, but the customer just doesn't see all that going on,
I think it
right?
makes
If they
sense
see it
too,
a
right?
one
So
seamless
yeah,
process.
I like this idea.
Yeah.
I understand it's not like the reality for everyone. It's not possible always, and some mind shift like, as well. But mindset
It's
shift.
it's good, but it's not good for dealers who have so much turnover in stores. Again, that's where I caution dealers. You're 20% those that don't have the turnover that can do, and they enforce it, and they make their people accountable
Okay.
and
Yeah,
responsible. You don't have that in 80% of your dealerships across the country. Let's
it's
face
true.
it.
Yeah, it's true.
They
It's
don't
tough.
have good hiring practices in place. They don't have good training processes in place. They don't train. They rely on their insurance providers. Now, some are really good insurance providers, but then they rely on other insurance providers. And frankly, some of the guys or gals that are coming into that dealership are so watered down, may or have 3 or 4 years of experience as a whole. It just doesn't gain any impact. And again, we have a lot of turnover in
Yep.
sales and in F&I, and it's just not going to work. So I tell dealers, if that's where your mindset is, if you can't keep people, if you have constant turnover in sales and F&I, well, you obviously have a problem.
Yep.
But imagine how your customer feels.
Yep.
But you can't. It's not going to work unless you're ready to go all in.
I think this is what separates you from a lot of people, right? You got to be really upfront with your customer, which in your case is the dealership, right? You got to see it. Like you gotta tell them, you know what, that's possible. You gotta fix this like first, because otherwise it's gonna break and we're all gonna be left there hanging, right? So
it's tough because I know that they get sold a lot of, there's the big
magic pills.
story, the magic pills, and there's
Yeah.
no such thing. And it's like, I'm over it. It's like,
Yep.
I'm going to tell you the way it is. You may not like me after the fact, but I am going to tell you what it's going to take to make it come together and make a greater impact. It doesn't mean we have to reinvent the wheel. I try not, but I don't want to. But you've got to change something to make something happen.
Yep.
If you want to go on a diet, you got to quit eating. I mean, not quit eating, but you're eating better, because that actually can make it better.
you gotta switch one thing at a time, and if you want it to work, you don't have to be so drastic.
You know what I mean? But you've got to make a change to make a change.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and nobody's here to babysit your people. Don't bring someone in as a consultant like myself. Don't bring me in to make. I'm not your babysitter. I don't want to be your babysitter.
Yeah.
I come in, I make a change, and you have to make your people accountable to that change. Or if you need someone to make them accountable, I'm good with that too. But the idea, when I go in to do a customized in-dealership training, that means I get access to the deals. And the reason why I need that is I do a thorough audit.
Yep.
So a dealer will say, we have a conversation, and I'll say with a dealer, tell me what you like. Tell me what you think's working for you. Something's bound to be working for you that you absolutely love. Okay, good.
Yep.
I want to know that, because we don't want to change that up. If you're liking it, if it's working for you, good. Well, what's not working for you? What do you need to do, or what you think you need to do to make an impact? How do you work a deal? Tell me your desking. Tell me how the salesperson does their presentation. I'll go through all that. What do you think is really happening in the F&I office? And so I get a good perspective of what their perspective is, if you will. I get a good idea of what their perspective is.
But it's so important, because perspective is what actually helps you help them, right? Sometimes when you just explain or tell someone else your idea or your pitch or how it's going in your own business, you'll come up with answers on your own at some point. It's really a team effort. So I think it's great.
Perception is one thing.
Yep.
Reality is another.
Okay.
So that's where it all comes ahead. And it's like, okay, guys, now I'm going to go do my homework. Now I'm going to go in, and now we're going to go in and do something that you didn't do before. And I'm looking at your deals. I'm finding out what's going on here. And then we'll have a come to Jesus meeting. Everyone sitting together in a boardroom, and we're going to be discussing what's really happening.
Yep.
And we're going to make a decision. You're making a decision. It's not my store. But this is what you told me what you thought was happening. You told me this, and this, and all that was happening. Well, guess what's not happening? This, and this. It's not happening. So we got to change it up to make it happen, to make a greater impact. Like Bill. Bill didn't sit around and argue with me. He brought me in as a consultant because he knows my work. Well, actually, it turned out I was in 4 of his other dealerships, and I mean, we killed it. We raised his PVR. We more than doubled about doubled his PVR, back end PVR.
Nice.
Because we put in practices, proven techniques that work. And I told him, it was funny because Bill said to me, how long is this all going to take? I said, Bill, that's a great question. And here's how long it's going to take. If in fact I have to gain buy-in, which can take a while.
Yep.
It can take 3, 6, 7, 8, a month, a whole year.
Yep.
Or if and when they come and they come crying and saying, do I have to do these videos? Do I have to do this presentation this way? Do I have to do the interview? Do I have to do the steps of the sale? You got to turn them around, and you got to say, either you're on the bus or you're off the bus. And that's a tough pill to swallow for a dealer. And I said, I get that. So you make up your mind. What do you want? Do you want impact quicker or later? I don't care. sooner or later it'll happen.
Yeah, you
So
choose in the end. Yeah.
he chose, and he said, I'm going to go for now. I said, good idea. So let's make it happen. So we did. And so in this one dealership, he tried to convince me, Becky, it's not good. We're just not going to be as successful. And I said, I don't believe that. It's all mindset. This is a culture that you simply bought. And, by putting these other practices in place, I mean, look what he did. He made a difference. He went ahead, paid $40 per write-up. He's like, I'm done. And this is the thing that I'm saying to dealers. If you want to do something, do it. Get it. Do it. Take action. Quit talking about it so much.
Yep.
I can get really feisty now.
Yeah, I know, but it's the challenge of everyone in business, right? So
isn't it the truth?
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
I hear you.
It's like, look, you're paying me to come in here. Listen to some of what I'm sharing with you. If you want to see results, put it in place, implement this, or don't hire me.
Yep.
Go keep doing what you've been doing.
Yep.
But all I can tell you, over the course, I founded my company in 2001.
Yep.
And I've been in dealerships all over the country in Canada. And I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
And I know what will gain impact. And the benefit is it's not a bunch of snake in mirrors. It's real. It's genuine, good content.
Yeah. But over time, right? You come up you see recipes, like you see what's working in dealerships and what's not working. And like from your experience and your reputation, you won't be advising on just on a whim, like anything you think that will work that day, right? You've seen it over the past. So
I work with some of the biggest dealers in the country.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I thought about the other day. I thought, you know what? I'm done with non-believers.
Yeah.
And there's other consultants out there that are willing to go ahead and do everything they can to bring these non-believers in.
Yep.
But after a while, enough's enough. Granted, I'm here to help, to motivate. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm over taking a non-believer and making them drink water. If they don't want to drink water and survive, I guess they're not going to survive.
Yeah, it's too bad sometimes because it gets really clear really fast, right? With over time, you can see those people just like that in 1 minute, and you're going to see if it's going to work or not. And at that point, I think being transparent with the team and the owners is key.
I think they want that.
Yep.
I think dealers are done.
So.
I think they're tired of it too. They're like, you know what, Beck, I want to bring on that change. Well, there's certain things that we have to put in place to make that change happen. And you have got to stick to your guns.
Yep.
And you have to let these guys know, I love you, Bam, but here's the deal. It's either my way, you're on the bus, or you're off the bus. Yep. We're going to put these and implement these techniques, and we're going to stick to them. So for an example, part of what I train is going out, meeting a customer, doing the interview with a customer.
Like live, or you do it live with customers?
Well, when I'm in finance, as a finance manager in a dealership,
okay,
I train the finance person, business manager, get out, meet with the customer before the customer ever goes into an F&I office, ever. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons why I do it. Number one, I want to validate the information. I want to make sure that it's correct. I want to build rapport with that customer. People buy from people that they like and trust. I want to get to know someone a little bit.
Yep.
I don't want that fear factor going up, that raising the resistance even before they met me. And now all of a sudden I got to go through all the nonsense, making sure the deal is straight, making sure I'm, trying to build rapport as I'm making sure the deal is straight. I'm making sure that there's no mistakes in title information, registration information matches driver's license, that sort of thing. Insurance's information is correct. Payoffs are correct. This is crazy. Why aren't we validating that information earlier on?
Yep.
When in fact I'm able to do that. Imagine how much better that menu presentation is.
Yeah.
when the customer comes in, I've already validated everything.
Yep.
I already know the terms. I know you have agreed to the terms. There's no argument. There's no debate.
Less friction. It's
Less
it's exactly what
friction.
you want to what you will need to avoid, right? At that point.
You
It's
see, and people buy more, buy your products more because
yeah.
it's no headache. It's no headache. You are who you say that you are. You're genuine. They like genuine.
Yeah.
And so I just don't get it. It's like you can't take 5 to 7 minutes to go out and meet a customer and review some of the information. I'm not just talking, hey, how are you, handshake. I'm talking sitting down, reviewing the information. Let's double check for accuracy.
Yeah.
Let's find out a little bit about the customer. You know, there is a sales leader here, industry. Well, he's not actually industry car business.
Yeah.
He's a sales leader. His name's Jeffrey Gittimer.
Okay.
He's an old
Yeah.
school kind of guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he's good. And I can
Is
so
it
relate to him sometimes.
like is he the guy that wrote the little red book on selling?
That's correct.
That's
That's correct.
yeah. I
I
got it
mean,
somewhere here. Yeah.
it's a great book. And he says some of the stuff that is
I
just
know.
right on. And I'm thinking, here's a guy I'm thinking, you should have been in the car. He's not. He just makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And he has this YouTube video I watch. In fact, I share with my students and dealers all the time. It's called Prevention Cure. And it's all about, you don't try to sell something you don't know anything about a customer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Simple, right? But
it's
so
simple.
overlooked.
It's so freaking simple. I don't, that's what I don't get. I don't get why they, prefer to go ahead and have the headache and rattle through a deal and have, gosh knows what they're up against even before they get into a menu presentation. How do you overcome an objection without knowing anything about a customer? How do you do it effectively?
You can't. And like the outcome of that as well is like friction from the customer standpoint and like stress on the salespeople standpoint, or like finance director, right? When objections arise, you get all flustered and everything, and then like the conversation derails. So just having a deep understanding of who's in front of you is just,
it's huge. It's huge. I just can't get over it. And they're like, no, we'll just drag the customer in. Well, this is how we've been doing it for years. And, and again, that's fine. And I get how they get away with that. A lot of that is some are just lucky, or some do things that they shouldn't be doing because they have no skill set.
Yeah.
When you have no skill set, I guess you have to hide and do business, perhaps maybe not so upfront. And we all know that that's happening today in dealerships all over the country. Mm-hmm. I don't care where you're at. So in order to be upfront, you got to have a skill set. You have to be able to sell the value of your products.
Yeah, maybe that's why people are not so upfront when they don't know how to control the conversation and qualify their customers in front of them, and being just upfront and transparent. But that's only on the rise, right? People want that. We all want that as customers, whether we are shopping for a car or anything else. And like most customers, I think, are tired of being taken for dummies, because most people are not dummies, right? So just
I think that they're, dealers, don't get me started on the dummy thing, because I think that there are still customers out there that, obviously, they're still walking into a dealership, continue to do what they've always been doing. That's why I'm saying, okay, fine. You're still working with your tradition versus non-tradition, but more and more customers, as this thing goes, as we're changing up, as these third-party providers, as Carvana, as CarMax, as these other providers offer customers the ability to shop and do financing online, it is changing up how the customer responds to a car dealer. So I have this F&I group, right, on Facebook.
Yep.
And so in this Facebook, we had this conversation, and this is what blows me away I don't get it. I just don't get it. So a dealer had his Foursquare. I don't know if they realized they had their Foursquare in the F&I Today group. I didn't put it there. Someone else did. And it's horrible. And basically it looks like it's been written by a oh, I don't know, 5-year-old, if that.
Yeah.
And it looks like payment packing's going on, all the good stuff. And then on it, it also reads dealership name, and it reads Foursquare. Now, you and I know that there is on Edmunds.com, who is a very customer user-friendly site to
Yep.
go shopping for your next car.
Yep.
So they have this article, or they even have a section on how not to
They have a
get screwed
section,
by
yeah.
a car dealer,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
get your head ripped off.
It's really popular as well.
Very popular. So it says Foursquare. Watch out for Foursquare. And it has the box and the Foursquare. Whatever
Yeah.
you do, watch out. Here's a dealer who uses Foursquare still to this day, 45 years in the car business, 45 years. Hasn't changed. And
Yep.
now his Foursquares are popping up all over social media. That's what dealers have to look at. What's going to show up on social media the next time? Your menus?
Yeah, but that's really new for dealers, huh? So people are just sharing everything. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but it's a real threat to businesses today. And
Right.
I know. And you were talking about one dealer. I know for a fact there are a lot of dealers who use that technique. And today it might be the time to start thinking about switching that technique. But that's my own personal experience, right? So
I'm just saying that you got to be careful because,
yeah,
as this thing is changing, as rapidly as things are changing in our industry, dealers aren't protected like they used to be. That things are getting out there to social media and
I
it's
know.
going viral and
Yep.
can tear their dealerships apart in an instant. I mean,
Yeah.
so to be so blindsided, take the blindfolders off, guys. Take them off and really take a look at your business and look at it that way. If this got out to social media, am I
Yep.
proud of it?
Yep.
Am I
Yeah.
hiding or am I proud of it? That's
Yep.
what I would ask.
Yeah, I think like we see dealerships keep getting caught, right, over um, compliance, and how they present their finance offers and their offering, and how they present like the menu to customers, right? So it's I was talking about that to Max Zanin, that a few weeks ago. So I don't know. I think it's really important for dealers to keep that in mind and really close to their heart, to be, can anything I'm sharing right now with my customer, would that, like you said it, right? Would I be proud or ashamed of what I just told or showed my customer? Because that's gonna
Right.
happen.
What you
That's
should be
bound to happen.
sitting, a dealer needs to sit in a boardroom with their managers and pull deals and pull their worksheets and pull their menus and say, if this ever got out,
Yep.
would I be proud?
Yep.
Would it tear my reputation apart? I hope dealers, if they listen to anything, will listen to this, because I have been contemplating on whether I want to upload that worksheet onto LinkedIn.
Yep.
I almost feel bad, but in a way, I don't. I mean, here's dealership, 45 years in business. This is coming out, and it just reeks of bad stuff.
Yeah.
And it reeks of, I can't change the way that I've always done business, but yet it's going to tear down their reputation.
Yeah, well, their reputation and the whole industry's reputation. I posted
That's
something
true
on
too.
LinkedIn this week about how I'm proud to be part of that industry, and how much we're um, people laugh at the automotive industries, at dealerships as well. So because they don't want to come in because they think we're crooks and everything, but I don't think it's right. I just think they have that perception because a few, like a little tiny percentage of those people actually take advantage of people that way, like the way you mentioned it. So anyway, that's
I
another
think
subject.
that here's what I think. I think that the dealers, they don't realize what they don't realize.
Mhm.
And I think because either they're not educated, they want to keep doing what they've always been doing. It's easier that way.
Yeah.
People change for two reasons, as far as I'm concerned. They change for pain or they change for gain.
Yep.
Those are the
True.
only two reasons. I mean, that really a dealer is going, I'm in so much pain. I'm $500 per car. We got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be done.
Or I just got out of my 20 group meeting and I want to be on the top.
Yeah. And it was pain.
That's another change. Well,
Yeah.
and then so that, so yeah, so they see that as a positive
Yep.
to change. So either it's because I'm hurting so bad, or I want to be, what is it going to take me, Becky, to be at the very, very top, right? So that kind of, helps, that's the paradigm shift
Yep.
for dealers. The thing is, when you see this behavior, and they just and don't get me wrong, I love the car business. I grew up in the car business. I'm from the
Yep.
car business.
Yep.
My dad was a car dealer. He worked at Chesapeake Cadillac Company in Baltimore, Maryland, and later went on to have his own dealership. And so I know it. And I sold
Yep.
cars when women weren't supposed to be selling cars. I got promoted into F&I, and I didn't stop there. And I've worked with a lot of good dealers, like you
Yep.
said. I really
Yep.
have. These dealers gave me a shot. They sent me to school.
Mm-hmm.
They made sure, that I knew what I was doing. They did not put me in that F&I seat. They made sure I understood my responsibilities and duties of that position.
Yep.
Not like it is today. Unfortunately, we have more and more dealers that aren't training up their staff, that aren't making sure that person that's sitting in that F&I office understands her duties and responsibilities. It drives me absolutely batty. I don't
Yeah,
get that
I'm
open
sure.
anymore.
I'm sure
It's,
it's
it's
like the business has been like, I maybe I'm wrong. You tell me, but did the car business on the finance side alone? Let's stick to finance here.
yeah.
Did it get more complicated for dealers, like regulations, how to like interact with customers and everything in the finance office?
It is getting, it is in a way.
Okay.
But you got to remember, as far as where we're at here in the States, we've had these regulations on the books since the 80s.
Yeah.
And some in the 50s.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The
Yep.
difference is that, and it's kind of funny because I use this analogy, if you don't mind. But back in the 50s, they said you couldn't drink and drive,
Yeah.
right? But it was never enforced. And it wasn't enforced. Back in the day, we could get in our demos, go to not to say it was smart, I'm just telling you what we did.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. 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 I know.
we had our drinks and stuff like that. We had our go cups even with alcohol. And if we got pulled over, again, it's not smart. The
Mm.
police officer would say, have you been drinking tonight? Yeah, you want some? And it was like, you need to pour some of that stuff out.
Yeah.
But that was the heyday. That's the way it was, right? It was the
Yeah.
Wild Wild West. Okay, then we found out Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Smart. Get rid of this stuff. We don't need to be drinking and driving. We
Yep.
get that. But they enforced it. You get pulled over today
Yeah.
for drinking, you're going to jail.
Yeah, I wouldn't try that. You want some line.
You don't want to, unless you want to embarrass yourself, your family, and everybody else. You're walking the line and you're being videotaped, and you're going to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
And life is miserable,
And
as
then
you
your
know
life's
it.
over. Yeah.
And you pretty much are going to cost you $30,000 to get out of that deal somehow, some way, if you're lucky. That's what it is. And
Yep.
so if it's your first offense, forget about
Yeah.
your second offense. We'll just
That's kind of still one of the good things that could happen at that point, I think.
that would be some of the blessings. But
Yeah.
here again, this is what's happening in the car business. Look, and I think this is what makes it fun when I talk about, this is what we used to do in the past. These are things that we did in the past. Yeah, well, I didn't know any better. I didn't know that was packing. I had no
Yeah.
idea. That's what
Yep.
we did. That's how we were trained. But we know better now. The Attorney General, back in the day said, hey, by the way, we call that packing. And packing is not legal. And oh, by the way, that dealer they took down. And oh, by the way, that dealer turned around and decided they were going to sue the trading company. for millions of dollars.
Hmm.
You're the one who trained us for this stuff.
Yep.
So today it's different because today it's being enforced. Now you might be lucky, and you may not be a dealer that gets pulled over, maybe for DUI, if you will, or
Yeah.
even speeding. How many
Yep.
people speed over the
Yep.
limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sooner or later, you're going to get pulled over.
Yep.
Sooner or later, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And just like that dealer who had his Foursquare get uploaded to, a group, not just my group, other groups, I
Yep.
understood.
Mm-hmm.
It's floating all over on the internet now.
Yeah. They lost control at that point. So.
That's exactly right. So that's why, again, who's to say that someone isn't going to look at that as an attorney or, someone from the state and see that and go, this is wrong.
Yeah. This is how it
I'm
happens.
going to investigate this dealer. I'm going to find
Yep.
out what's going on here.
Yep.
Who's to say that you don't open yourself up for more liability because of stupid stuff like that? That's
Yeah.
what
It's
I
a
try
big
to.
red flag. I mean,
Yeah.
so obvious, right? So.
It is a little obvious, don't you think? But you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's just they never think anything's ever going to get out from under them.
Yeah.
Their employee, an employee, a rogue employee, someone who felt like they were discharged for no reason, no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're the first to go ahead and go back at a dealer like that. They are the first. The second is the customer in service, who has a major repair of engine trims, whatever. That's another lawsuit waiting to happen. Something.
Yep.
Well, I didn't know that I don't have a service contract. You didn't offer me one, whatever. So that opens, that's a possible way of opening a case against a car dealer.
It is.
So it comes in from different areas that the dealer is just not thinking through, especially from rogue employees. I mean, it's amazing how many happen that go on there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Why do you think that actually still happens today in our industry? Is it obviously it's a lack of training? Is it a lack of maturity or, judgment, or is it all of the above in a way?
It's culture.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you have these, don't get me wrong, I love veterans. I work with some really awesome, talented, great people still in the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said,
most of them are. Yeah.
the guys that I grew up with are some of the best in the industry, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
But I don't see unfortunately, that's being eroded away. It is. We had some of the best in the industry. But today, we're not doing our due diligence. We're not making people accountable. We're not inspecting what we expect. And this stuff falls through the cracks. This is where, and I tell dealers, you got to take these blindfolders off. So for an example, I'll go to a 20 group meeting and I say, okay, guys, here's what I want you to do. And it's not because I'm there to point fingers. I'm not. I'm just trying to help you out. I really am not there to go ahead and say, told you so. That's not my deal. I mean, I want to help you out. That's my passion in my life. What do I stand for? I thought about this I've been reading this new book called The Way of the Seal, right? What's my trident? And what's my purpose? Who am I? What's my whole thing all about? What do I stand for? And I stand for being upfront, being ethical, doing business the right way. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder. I don't want to help the hell, this deal's going to come back to bite me in my ass. I mean, who wants that?
Yeah. Well, anyone that's short-sighted, I guess, if you want to do business long term,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be upfront, you got to be transparent, and you got to do
it
the right way.
That's
right?
a culture because and I am going to go ahead and I am pointing fingers up at the head at the dealer. If I have to say it once, I've said it 100 million times.
Yeah.
It stinks at the head. It always stinks at the head. When that dealer puts those blindfolders on and pretend it doesn't exist because he's running some some hellacious PVR numbers. When it's too good to be true, buddy, it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
You've got to know something's not right. If you're running $2,500 per car, something's not right. I'm sorry. I think that there's something not right. I mean, granted, you've got more and more vehicles that are higher priced. But at the end of the day, you got to take the blindfolders off. And here's what ends up happening. The very minute a dealer gets in trouble, what do you think that they're going to say and do? Not my fault. I had no idea this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Well, it's too convenient. It's too convenient. Years ago, there was an attorney general, Terry O'Loughlin, who is now the attorney for Reynolds and Reynolds. A very bright, awesome guy. I love Terry. And I get to see him sometimes all the time when I go to the conventions and stuff. What a brilliant mind. But Terry at one time was the assistant attorney general for the state of Florida. And low-key Oldsmobile, this one F&I, and he had a video. I lost that video. He was going to get me a new one. But anyway, this video is of this F&I person who is in front of a judge in an orange suit. And you ought to see the look on his face. And it's freaking pathetic. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's going to be. And the judge said, and gave him 5 or 6 years because he purposely confused the elderly into leasing when they thought they were buying. Now, granted, I'm thinking it's his fault.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
is
that
it
doesn't
all
happen by
his fault?
mistake. Yeah.
Is it all his fault? Is it just this person? Or do you think other people knew what was going on?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So It all starts at the head. The fish stinks up at the head. And you know what? This is what they dictate. This is the culture that they dictate. If they say, you know what, don't worry, you don't have to do a menu presentation this way, that's all good. That's fine. Or if in the event, don't worry about that interview. We've got deals coming in. Let's not even worry about all that stuff. Let's just, as long as you're running $1,500 a car, I don't care how you're doing it, just get me there.
Yeah.
Then they have to take some ownership of that whole thing.
Yeah. I'm sure it's got to be on the, it's got to come up when I know you're traveling around the country with like educating dealerships these days. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. Does that come up as discussions when you're meeting with the roundtables teams and everything? Is this something you approach and like that?
Well, I think I talk in the F&I roundtable. We talk about the technology, innovation, how things are, the trends, business trends, what's going on in the industry.
Okay.
And again, when a customer has more information coming out to them sooner rather than later, doing some of these practices as we're used to doing them, dealers are going to fail miserably because customers want information earlier on. If we're not giving the customer the information, if we refuse to change, wait until the customer gets into the F&I office, wait until they get into the F&I office to discuss these terms, frankly, it could be too late.
Yep.
Frankly, by then, the customer's either buying a car from somebody else, or when they buy a car from the dealer, they're walking in with a check made out for the exact amount. And this is something that I caution dealers all the time. We have got to do a better job. We have to do a better job in getting to that customer before they walk into the dealership with a check for the exact amount. Because you're not moving that customer. You're not moving them. You're not going to go ahead and flip them over to your financing at this point. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
It's
no,
too
makes
tough.
sense. Yeah, and sensitive as well, right? So.
Well, again, they already have a check for the amount. And at this point, they've already built the relationship with somebody else. And it's really tough to go ahead and unwind that and refinance the customer. Can happen, but the likelihood is not that high. And so we just have to do a much better job. And, I want to get to the customer in that buying cycle touch point, I call it, early touch point, as soon as I can. You know,
Yep. Yep.
years back, when I did more subprime, I did some subprime financing. And back in the day, they told me I couldn't do it. And they
Yeah.
said, Becky, let me tell you something. It's a Toyota dealership and we're in Annapolis, Maryland. There's no subprime customers here. I said, they're here. Okay, they're here.
Or
And
somewhere.
so the thing was, it's stupid. Who says stuff like that? I can go into a dealership and and again, this I'm kind of making fun of, but I can tell you they told me, Becky, if I've heard this a million times, I heard it once, we've heard it a million times. My customers are different. Are they? Yes, they're different than many other customers. And my customers don't go on the internet.
I've heard that before
Oh,
as well. Yeah.
they don't go on the internet. They don't shop. They don't do any of that. And I'm like, how is that possible? That just doesn't make any sense. I mean, of course they're going they're going to look at something. So
Yep.
the thing was, especially with mine, subprime financing, if I could get to the customer sooner before they ever walked into the dealership, I had everything that I needed to put a deal together. I even knew what car I was going to put the customer on. Is fact finding earlier on, get the information earlier on, so I know what I'm doing by the time the customer comes into the dealership. That's what this online journey is all about. It shortens the time it takes to get the customer on the right car. And it
Yep.
helps the dealer and getting, some of the insurance products in front of the customer earlier on, so that way they can make it more of an intelligent decision, not necessarily based on the pressure to buy products.
Yep.
And they have
It's true.
found, because of that, they've actually increased overall profitability.
Yeah, I'm sure it works because, like, when you think about it, like buying a car is a two-part process. Mainly, you get to see the salesperson in front in the showroom, and then you get to meet like the finance manager, and there's too often a disconnect, and
Mhm.
like it's almost if the finance part was more important, and sometimes I think it feels like a surprise to like a customer that they have to go to part two of the deal, right. So
Well,
it can't be a surprise.
used to be years back, back in the 60s, 70s with Pat Ryan, resource. Pat Ryan, he really kind of created that idea behind offering customers with the credit, life, and disability and financing customers right at the dealership, rather than having the customer leave and obtain their financing elsewhere. So
Yep.
he really created that idea, and obviously it's stuck. But today, more so than ever before, this is a dealership's profit center, and they cannot avoid, they cannot ignore, right? Especially more, maybe not so much in Canada, I don't know, but I'm telling you, here in the States,
It is.
dealers are not making what they used to on the front end.
Yep.
All right. So they've got to make up the profit two places. One is going to be an F&I. The other is fixed ops.
Yep.
That's where it's at.
Yep.
And whatever you've been doing, we've got to, it's running so quickly. It's so rapid today on how we have to engage and how you have to be much more innovative than ever before. And
Yep.
sitting on the sidelines and waiting for this whole thing to come together is too late. It's just too late. You got to do something about it. And again, the idea is to get outside your own comfort zone. Back in the day when I was working with the AutoNation stores. So I was hired by the JM&A group, and I was with JM&A for 6-7 years. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, and I was good as a specialist. And I'd go in dealerships all over the country as a specialist for JM&A,
Yep.
Southeast Toyota.
Yep.
And it's a tough job. And there weren't that many females, I'm going to tell you that at the time. I paid my dues on the road 18 months, in and out.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yep.
I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. And so this is where menu selling came from. I mean, there's George Angus, right? He came, with the idea behind presenting options. But in a big way, in these AutoNation stores is where, you know, we took hundreds of people, hundreds of managers, and changed their entire dynamic idea
Stuff.
behind doing something like this. Now, you got to remember, back in the day, we were packing. So I was very successful doing packing payments. And I always came clean and disclosed to the customer. Never did I hide, disclosed after the fact. But this was new. We were meeting customers. Think about this. In 1997, we're
Yep.
meeting customers for the first time in a kiosk outside of an F&I office. In fact, there was no F&I office to take a customer into. It was an admin office. And I'm meeting customers for the first time at a kiosk in the middle of a showroom. And we're doing these menu presentations. And I'm telling customers, this is your exact payment. Here's your term. This is what you're paying for a vehicle. So know that up front. And here's some of the product offerings that we have available.
Yep.
Everyone told us, this is never going to work. You're never going to be successful this way. You can't be upfront and still be profitable. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Time after time, naysayer after naysayer. And so this was extraordinary because we went in different dealerships all over the country. We went into from the mega stores into the new car stores, into those Memphis stores I was talking about earlier. And we proved beyond a shadow of a doubt. And we doubled, in some cases tripled, the PVR. Customers understood the terms before we went into the presentation. And it works.
That's proper selling. You don't have to lie your way into sales, you know?
But I can't get this. That's what this whole concept is. It's making sure that dealers understand that people will buy if you just let them. Just make them feel as if they are in control of the process and they will buy.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yeah, it's simple and it makes sense to your own. Yeah, well, it's simple when you know actually what to do, right? And you know I'm sure people could get more of your expertise. So I got so much more questions I'd like to ask you. And if you're okay with that, I'd like to have you back on the show. I wanted to chat a little bit for an hour or so today, and I'd like to share with our people at Autobahn Academy where can they find more about you, Rebecca.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you. And it has been a pleasure always speaking with you too, Mark, and I appreciate the time today as well. But I have a couple different ways to go. I certainly have my F&I online courseware that I highly recommend.
Yep, I've seen it. It's amazing.
It's good. You know, it's not overwhelming. That's the reason why I did it. I didn't do it to overwhelm you with more content that you won't do anything with.
Yep.
The whole idea is to get you acclimated to the duties and responsibilities of that F&I office. Set up, what am I looking to do? How do I set an office up? What are my responsibilities? Legally, it has a legal component with Jim Regana. He goes through the legal compliance portion. And then we get into presentations. We get into overcoming objections. We get into deal structure, advanced.
Oh, it's very complete. It's amazing.
I think it's good stuff. It's not, like I said, it's not overwhelming. And I think it's priced exactly right. Yep. You go to one of my workshops, you're going to spend $12.95 to attend a workshop of mine.
Yep.
And of course, we're going to have fun. And it's always a good time, but we learn a lot. And we really answer questions. And we really get into the meat of a whole deal. And I love that too. But I took that 3-day and I put that into this F&I online courseware. All of it comes with certification upon completion. You're open. I also include a Skype webinar face-to-face with the individual, answer any questions that you have and go over presentations. So I know you get it.
Yep.
So that's one. And of course, we do have the workshops and that sort of stuff, or the in-dealership training.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go in and you train like individuals or groups of people, I guess, with for dealers like single stores or single rooftops or dealer groups, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think so. what the importance of that, don't get me wrong, I love the workshops and everybody loves coming into the workshop, but some dealers like to create their own workshop at their own group,
Yeah, makes sense.
their own people. They don't want their people going out of the dealership
Yep.
for this, that, or the other reason. And so they want to keep it at their own place, which that can be a lot of fun too.
Yep.
And it is. And then the dealer's more involved, and we do dinner out and that sort of stuff. So we make it fun. We go over these best practices. We can create more of an F&I roundtable and that sort of stuff in
It seems
dealership.
like a lot of fun. Yeah.
And it's cool because here's what happens. What I do really well with, drive everybody crazy. No, what I do really well with is I get the front end working with the back end. Smart dealers know that when you get the two working, I call it two heads are always better than one. It takes two to tango. And it really does take two to tango. And once you understand my madness, you'll understand that you've got engine, transmission coming together.
Yeah.
And making the deal whole, right? And so I work with the finance people to understand the importance of that relationship with the salesperson. Working with the salesperson, training up the salesperson. That relationship is so important. It really, truly is. And the more trained up we have with that salesperson, not keeping them in the dark. And I know that that's a completely different kind of, you can go a whole hour on that topic too. But I'm not all about keeping the salesperson in the dark. When I was growing up in the business, they trained me right. I believe giving my salespeople the tools and supporting my salesperson and building that relationship. Desking managers, those that have not ever been in F&I, which again, I'm not a believer. A person on the desk needs to have spent time in the F&I office, needs to have training in compliance, needs to understand deal structure, all of that. So I take, because they can mess up a deal without that. They can really mess up a deal.
It's such a team effort, right? So
it is. You've got to synchronize it all and connect the dots. So that's what the in-dealership is all about. It is taking those components, bringing them together in a more holistic approach, and really makes a big impact. Some dealers are 3 days, some dealers are 5 days, but by the time we get it done, they're going to see some amazing results. Now, I will say that they should follow up one way or the other, whether it be a webinar, back-end dealership, but it can't.
That's a work in progress, anyways.
It can't. You can't go into that short-sighted like that. It's got to be a long-term type commitment, but you're going to get a lot out of it. You're going to get more sales out of it, and it will more than pay for itself by putting that together.
So let's say someone would be interested in your services online or offline. How would they get in touch with you today?
Well, they can either reach me through my iPhone, which is 404-276-4026.
Okay.
Now I will tell you, sometimes I don't answer the phone because you know why? If I think it's spam, these spam calls are getting crazy lately. I mean to tell you,
I know
they're really messing things up for a lot of people.
Yep.
So I've got on there, it shows spam, but the other number would be 866, my business line, 866-894-1899.
Awesome.
So 866-894-1899. Or if you don't mind me sharing my email, I'm going to give you the easy one.
Yeah, let's do it.
B as in Becky.
Yeah.
Chernek, CHERNEK @gmail.com.
It's easy enough.